So, welcome to this class of computer network students. I hope you are good and you are clear with all the instructions now, and what we have discussed till now. It should be clear to you guys. Fine. I hope that this is clear to you. So, we'll be starting with this lecture of computer network. Fine. So, I'm quickly going to share my screen. Yeah, fine. Thank you. So, the last topic which we left was we have discussed the topologies. Then we have also discussed the IPv4 addresses, IPv6 addresses, some of the key points. Fine. And today we are going to start with the OSI model. Fine. So has anyone listened about this, that what is OSI model, or what purpose it is being used and why it is being necessary? Is this visible to you all guys? Yes, okay, fine. So let me just quickly start with it. Fine now. So we know that in the networking world, whenever we talk about that there are many devices which are sharing data with each other. Fine. When devices connect with each other, there are some protocols which are being used. Fine. That refers to as the standard. Actually, in the let me just quickly revise you to the earlier time. Actually, in the earlier time, what it was, when if I talk about the 2010 or 2000, before the 2010 or around it, fine. It was a very big competition which was actually running between the IBM company and the device equipment and the other companies for the vendorship of the different devices. Fine, for the that to become the most to become the highest seller in that particular time. Fine, the IBM was the leading, want to be the leading in terms of producing many and many different devices, and there are other companies which are already in the line to become the highest seller of that particular devices. But till then that till then actually there, matlab, in the more earlier time, it's cracking. Am I not audible to all? Am I audible bache to all? Am I audible bache? Yes, Mudit, please check your connection. From my side, it's totally fine. I'm getting the responses audible. Fine. So, in the earlier times, actually, what it was that everyone wants to be the highest seller of producing the different devices. But the problem with that is that the problem was that the different devices which if I want to buy a particular device from IBM, fine, no audio. बच्चे my बच्चे hello, am I audible बच्चे? Hello, audio not coming बच्चे. Audible, it's from your side. I am getting responses. I am audible बच्चे. Those who have issues, please check your connection. बच्चे, I am totally audible. I am getting responses. I got more than 20 responses. Am I audible? That means something is from your end. बच्चे, please look. It's audible बच्चे from my side. Swapne Jan, it's audible from my side. Please check your. Thank you, Siddharth Gupta. Siddharth Gupta, fine. So coming back to topic, let me just focus on that. So the problem with that was that if I buy a particular device, for example, if I need to, as being a network administrator, I need to make a particular network, and I require different devices. And if I buy a particular device, for example, router from the IBM company, I also need to buy the other devices from the same vendor. Fine, because it was not be able to incorporate the different devices with the other vendors. Fine, if I buy a router, if I buy a router from the IBM company and I am using in my particular network, I need to buy the printer from same IBM also, and I need to buy the computing device also from the IBM. Earlier time I'm talking about. Fine. That means at that time there was no protocol being sent, and if I buy it from the other vendor, I need to also buy the printer or other device from the same company. Now that becomes the problem. That means if I buy something from another vendor, I cannot have the option to buy other device from the other vendor. That becomes an issue. So that comes that where the International Standard Organization ISO refers to comes into the communication and provides the protocols. Fine. And it provides the protocol standards for the OSI model. Fine. That there should be some protocols, there should be some standards to which these communication or this data, whatever the different computing device which I want to buy, I can be flexible in that. Fine. So that's where it refers to as the ISO build the OSI gives the OSI model. Fine, gives the some OSI protocols standards to build it, and this model was proposed to make standardization of protocol defined for various layers. Hence, it is widely represented as ISO OSI reference model. Fine. Now, at the same time, actually, what happens that the defense company, the defense of company of the working that at that time gives the another model at the same time, which is TCP/IP model. Fine, for standardization of protocols which are going to be used in that particular data sharing or whatever we refer to as in terms of networking. Now, if I want to take a difference between that, if I already have a OSI model, then why we need to use the TCP/IP model? Fine. The first point which comes to mind to answer that particular question, the thing is that OSI model is developed just for the reference model, just for the theoretical purpose. Fine. That when the data is being going to be shared between first device to second and the other device, they need to be the data need to be passed through the different layers. Fine. For example, in the OSI layer, there are 7 abstract layers, and the data needs to be passed through this. But OSI model is just a theoretical model. Fine. It is not it is not a it is just a model which is being used for the standardization theoretical model. Whereas when we talk about TCP/IP model, it is the actual implementation where actually most of the companies works. Most of the companies use that protocol for the standardization of the different device which are going to be used. Fine. So if someone asks me what is the difference between OSI model or TCP/IP model, I'll say OSI model is just a theoretical model, whereas TCP/IP model is the actual practical implementation of the to make the standardization of protocols. Whereas in OSI model there are 7 layers. Fine, starting from physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, application, presentation, and session layer. Whereas in TCP/IP there are just 4 layers. Fine, the sum of the layers comprises into a one. In TCP/IP model, we'll see the difference in both the models in the earlier in the later slides. First, we'll discuss about the OSI model. Fine. So it allows the open communication between different systems without requiring changes to the logic of underlying hardware and software. So it is just a model. See, already explained, it is just a model, theoretical model, not a protocol that can run or install on system. That means each time when my device connected with the other device for sharing of data, the different layers get invoked according to its requirement. Fine. So it has 7 abstract layer. Every layer is designed to give abstracted level of functionality and is independent from the other layer. That means each layer has its own role, has its own responsibility, and then has its own functions. So each layer should perform a set of desired function, and defined function should be according to the policy of internationally standardized protocols. Now I have explained you that there are 7 layers and each layer has its own function. Why there is a need to make the different layers? Can anyone has any idea about that? What can be the method or what can be the logic behind this to divide the functionality of the other parts in the networking while making the communication to the different layers? Can anyone tell me that what actually the what has anyone thought about it that we should have different layers or different protocols for that separating the layers so that the communication will become better? So can anyone tell me? Does anyone know about it? In the class, we have 81 members. Identify layer, fine. If one layer has a problem, we just need to fix that layer very right to make it easily understandable, right, Mridul? See, now let me take those who have doubt. Let me take an example. Let me precisely tell you the actual thought behind this. We all are in the university, fine. We all are the students of you are the students of this AIT CSE department. Now we know that in the university we have different departments, fine. For example, if you have any problem related to accounts, where will you go? Accounts department, right? If you have any query related to the subject, you will go to your department, fine. If you have any issue related to the some other thing, a network issue or any device issue, you will go to the IT department. So what is the purpose behind having these different departments, fine? So that it would be easy to manage, it would be easy to make understand that which particular department should I go if I have some problem. That's why these protocols are different. These standardization has been done into the different layers, so that if while making a network, while communicating the different devices in a particular network, if we get some issues, if we get some problem, then it should be clear to that, as being a network administrator, to which device, to which particular layer should I go. If I have problem some switches, I'll go to layer 2. If I have some problem with routings or routers, I'll go to layer 3. We'll discuss that in the next slide, fine. So first thing, it should be clear to you guys that for what purpose the OSI model has been built, for the standardization. The second is that it is just a theoretical model. Gurdeep has some doubts, sir, but all the layers are interlinked with each other. We cannot move forward if there is an issue in the previous layer. But see, let me show you the diagram. See, these are all layers, 7 layers: physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport, session, presentation, application. Starting from this, see, if I have some issue, yeah, you are right, all are interlinked with each other. But if I start from the upper end or the lower end, according to the device, because my device is always be going to be there, fine, where my application layer is, because application layer is helpful in making the end user connection, communication with that application. Now see, the basic understanding is that if I know that I have a problem in router, I should go to network 3. That is the understanding behind this, that if I have some doubt, if I have some issue in any of the device, or in any of the problem, I should know that to which particular layer I should go. That is the point behind having these separate layers, fine. You are right, all are interlinked with each other. If data need to be passed, it has to be go into the sequence from application to presentation to session to transport to network to data link layer to physical layer. But we should know that to which layer I should go if I have a problem in any of the scenario. That is the understanding which I need to see. That is the concept which I have to be make in my mind, fine. Now see, the thing is, the very first thing is that the order has been precisely defined, fine. And I should learn the different names of the layer in the same way. It is like, if I want to remember it from the upper side, I'll start it from application layer, presentation, session, transport, network, data link layer, physical layer. If I go from down, it is physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport, session, presentation, application. Now sometimes it's like that, I am not able to learn all these names. But yeah, there are some acronyms which are being used widely, which we can refer. We all know that, we all find this younger generation is like, we eat something, home food or not, but we'll definitely go for pizza, fine. So we don't waste food always. So there is acronym which is being used: please do not throw sausage pizza away. And I can remember the first alphabet of each word, which is P, D, N, T: physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, application layer. So when we talk about food, it always be easy to remember the names with while comparing with it food. So I can understand, or I can remember these particular names of the layers through these particular acronyms, fine. If I need to learn it from the above side, there is another, that all people seem to need data processing. where I'll take the first alphabet of each, and you should be easily remember the names of the layers. You just need to remember the line, and it will be all clear to you. I hope that you will be able to learn these particular layers very easily. Now we'll come to the functioning of each layer. Fine. Now, is this diagram clear to you all? Uh, are we good with this till what we have discussed till now? Are we all good with this? Fine. Awesome. Now we can see the interaction between the layers in the OSI model. Now how it is going to work, or how the connection is being made. Now whenever a device A need to send some data to B, ISO has built some of the standardized protocols. So data need to be passed through each layer one by one, fine, to each layer. Then it will reach to the other end through this particular communication, fine. So we'll have peer-to-peer connection with the seventh layer, fine, directly connected. Then peer-to-peer with the representation session layer. Now the first three layers, the above first three layers, which is from 5 to 6, 5, 6, 7, application layer, presentation layer, and the session layer. Now these actually layers to which we generally don't deal with. They are generally being operated by your operating system or your device to which from which your data need to be sent from the other end. Fine. The role of the application layer is to provide the end-to-end communication with that particular device, so that we'll be able to interact with in a way that application layer. But the best thing which need to be remembered in case of the application layer, that this layer invokes whenever a network connected application runs. That means I can say whenever I open an application which is network connected, then only this application layer invokes. In some might be you will if you will learn you will heard something, or you will be able to see somewhere written that each time you run an application on your system, on your operating system, this application layer invokes. But not, this is not the scenario. Application layer only deals with the application which are network connected applications, which are connected with the network. If I remove the network interface card from my system, if I remove if I remove the network internet connectivity from my operating system, the application which is going to be run, it will not invoke application layer. Application layer only invokes at the time when we talk about the application which are network aware applications. That is the first point I need to remember, and I should know the difference. Fine. For example, we have an example of TeamViewer. Have you all seen a TeamViewer remote login access? Do we all know about it? TeamViewer, the remote login access for which the internet is being required. Fine. Yes. So this application, whenever it is going to be invoked, it is going to be use the internet. So whenever this application invoked, your application layer gets invoked onto your system. That needs to be handled by the working of the operating system. That is the working which need to be not into the control of network administrator. It is going to be managed by the of your operating system on which your application is running. There are different protocols which are being used. Fine, let me write it. So there are TFTP protocols are used. Fine. FTP, are you able to see whatever I am writing on the screen? FTP protocols are being used. HTTP protocols are being used. HTTPS protocol are being used. Fine. Now these are the protocols which these are some of the protocols which are used in this application layer. Fine. The file transfer protocol, or whenever you do web surfing, you know that your web address always start with HTTP, or more with the most secure way of TLS security. Fine. The HTTPS. Fine. So these are protocols. HTTP refers to hypertext transfer protocol. Without this, I am not be able to send a particular request to the network on the internet and to get that particular data. If I need to do web surfing, this protocol should get invoked. Fine, we talk about browser, we talk about any Chrome. This is a particular application which runs on the net, which runs on the network, which runs on the internet. Whenever this application runs, your application invoke because it is connected to the internet. We'll talk about FTP, file transfer protocol. For example, if in a particular network I have attached a particular PC, a particular printer, and that need to be shared with the other devices in that particular network. So it is going to be run on the network. We need that network to be connected. So all the applications which the internet is required, all the network aware application, for the network aware application, this application layer will get invoked. If I do not have any internet connected application, if I remove the network interface card from my operating system, this application layer will not get invoked. That's how the functioning, that's how the work of this application layer is. Are we clear with this first layer, everyone? So that I'll move to the presentation layer. Everyone sure? You can just hand raise. If the things are clear to you, you can just raise your hand. I'll get to know that. You don't have to waste your time by posting in the chat box. Great, very fine. So in the next time, whenever someone asks you, that's fine, Bache, thank you. Next time, whenever someone asks you when application layer invokes, it invokes whenever a network aware application runs. Now second comes the presentation layer. Fine, the sixth layer in my OSI model. Now this application layer, this presentation layer, the working of this presentation is whenever the data is being carried from the application layer, it reaches to presentation. And the functionality of presentation layer is to actually present your data in a presentable way. Fine. For example, we know that each of the device A, B, or any of the particular device, if anyone wants to actually see the data, it is going to be always in the form of bits, 0, 1 in the form. Presentation layer, what it does, it actually present your data into a presentable way. For example, your data is in the form of bits 0, 1. If it is an image, if it is an audio, any particular data is always be going to be in the form of bits because computer understand only binary language. But when the data needs to be sent, or when it is going to be reached at this particular presentation layer at the other end from this device, through passing through these layers, it need to be presented in a more good way. It need to be presented in a way so that it will be easily understand by the application or the person who is going to be working on that particular PC or particular system will be able to see that what data is, because as a human we don't understand the 0, 1 bit form. Computer actually understand that. So to see that whether the image is being transferred from that particular A device to B device, and if it in the form of bits, so presentation layer will convert that bits into the actual image and present it in a way so that it will be easily readable to the humans. That's what purpose it being used. Then the fifth layer which we have is the session layer. Now each time I do web surfing, or each time I log into my account, or any of the particular system on which I run, so session layer, what it does, it makes different sessions for it. Fine, for the time being or whatever the functionality it is. So it creates session for the different users so that it would be easy for us that if the many of the applications are running onto my system, so it creates different sessions for that different application. So it would be easy for them to manage, easy for it to handle for the operating system. That what purpose for this it is being used. As being a network administrator, my role is not to deal with these different layers. Fine, either application or presentation or session layer, it all automatically gets involved. It automatically got into the working with the help of the operating system. What it does, as being a network administrator, we generally do with these particular layers, which is transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer. Fine. Now, when data is passed through application, will reach to presentation, and then to the sessions are being created, and then it reaches the transport layer. Fine. Now, The transport layer adds, please repeat session layer. Okay. But you see, we know that on a particular system, there are going to be there are multiple applications which can run at a particular time. There are multiple interfaces which can be open at a single time. So session layer working is to create different sessions for the users, so that all the sessions will be easily managed and all the different applications can get easily managed, that at this particular time this application is being used or this application is being used. Sessions are created. Fine. For example, I create a session for you guys to use your internet password for this particular time. So sessions are there. We see that after some time, that from a particular website, if I log in, I might be automatically get out of that particular log out from that particular website, and I need to again log in, because your sessions are being created, your sessions are being managed. And for that purpose, that different application might can run at the same time. So sessions are being given to the different users, so it will be able to easily manage. For that purpose, this session layer is being used, and it will invoked when the session need to be created. Utsav, is it clear to you now? Utsav, Utsav, is it clear to you? Fine, sure. So now comes the transport layer. Now transport layer working is to that now my data is in the presentable form, or sessions are being created. Now as a network administrator, I need to see that now this data has to be reached to the other end. For that, there are two things which I need to be, which I should know the difference: routed protocol or routing protocols. Do anyone know about this? The difference in the routing protocol or the routed protocols? The routing protocols or the routed protocol? Do anyone know in the class? Anyone? No, fine. Let me explain. Fine, don't worry. Routed protocols are being used when we need to route and we need to make a connection. See, two things. The first, to send the data from this device to this device, A to B. First of all, we have to make a route. We have to make a connection between these two devices. Yes or no? The first thing is which that we have to make connection between these two devices. The second thing is that on this particular link which the connection has been built, now we need to route our packet. Now we need to route the data packet which need to be transferred from device A to device B. Fine. The routed protocols are the one that which are going to be used to create the route, that the connection which I need to be made. It in the transport layer there are two connection establishment, or uh, uh, the concepts which are being used with connection oriented TCP, or the connection less oriented, which is UDP. Fine. To make the connection between two devices in order to send the data, two protocols are being used in the transport layer. The one is TCP and the other is UDP. TCP refers to the transmission control protocol. When I say that when I say that one device need to send the data to the other device, it should be connection oriented. It should be connection oriented. I say this is a TCP connection. I'll prefer TCP connection. When I say I need to make a connection less oriented communication between these two devices, I'll say I'll take the UDP protocol, which is referred to as user datagram protocol. Fine. Now what I have explained till now, TCP protocol is being used when I need to make the communication, when I need to make the connection between two devices, when I need to make the connection between two devices in a connection oriented way, in a connection oriented way. Whereas in UDP, when I need to make a connection in a connection less way. But does that mean that my UDP is good or my TCP is good? Can anyone tell me? That I am saying TCP is being used that when I need to make a connection oriented, and UDP is being used when I need to make a connection less. Does I can say that my TCP is better than UDP? Think about it. See, UDP is good. Yeah, TCP in some cases. Yes, but definitely. I cannot say that just on the basis of the connection oriented that my TCP is better than the UDP. That doesn't make it. The connection oriented means that in case of TCP connection, let's suppose the connection is being built and the data, these are the data packets. Fine. Now these data packets are being going to be transferred to this particular device. In TCP connection oriented, it says that until and unless all these packets, whatever on the link, are not going to be reached to the other end, it is not going to delete that connection. That means it results in the reliability of reaching the packets to the other end. For example, if I get connected to the, for example, have you all seen a live match? Have you all seen a live match or a live video or any particular thing? Yes, you see. Now, in case, let's suppose you open a particular match, your match timing was 10 to 11, 10 to 11 a.m. Now, let's suppose at 10 a.m. you see that your connection is not good and you will not be able to see that particular match. But after 15 minutes of the time, your live match will start working because your now connection is good. Yes or no? Your connection is good. Yes or no? Yes, very right. But the packets which are being lost for the 15 minutes, will you able to see that in the live match? Can you able to see that same packets in the live match, whatever the data packets which has been lost in the first 15 minutes? No, you will not be able to see. That is in case of the UDP. That means that is the example of UDP, the live match, whatever you see. It follows the user datagram protocol. That means connectionless. Connectionless does not make the reliability that your each packet will receive, or if a packet is not going to be received, it will reroute that packet. In case of the TCP, on the TCP connection, if I send these data packets, among these 4 data packets, for example, let's suppose my one of the packet will get lost. So TCP is reliable. It will reroute that packet on this particular channel because it results in the guarantee of each and every packet to be delivered at the other end. So it will retransmit that packet which are going to be lost in case of TCP. Whereas in case of UDP, it is not a surety that it is just like that your packets are not going to be retransmitted. But that doesn't mean that I can say that my TCP is better or my UDP is not better. Fine, we know that the transmission at which for the UDP protocol the connection is being coming, or the packets which are being transferred, they are reliable. But that doesn't guarantee in that retransmission of packet must be done if I lost these packets. But in case of TCP connection, it is guaranteed that if some of your packets lost during that particular transmission, the TCP will reroute that packet to that particular channel. That is the difference. Fine. The only thing is which we need to remember, it is a connection oriented and the UDP is the connection less. TCP is reliable in terms of sending all the data packets to reach to the other end, whereas UDP does not reroute that packet or does not do the retransmission of the packets to the other end. It just made on the live connection. That is the example of UDP, the live match which we will see. I hope that this transmit layer will be clear to you guys. Fine. These protocols. Fine. The second thing which it also use, due to coronavirus, all TCP applications are being converted to UDP to avoid handshake. Yeah. So for the TCP, for connection establishment, there are different ways, different handshakes. For the UDP, they are different. We'll see that in the unit 2, we have full chapter of TCP and UDP connection. In the lab, we also have that how we are going to make a TCP connection or UDP connection with the help of a C or C programming or C Java programming or Python. We'll build that also. So in the transport layer, it also uses the ports. Fine, because it also uses the port number. Fine, referred to as the socket programming. Because when two applications or two devices which connects with each other and share some data, it need to be see that for example, we talk about that DNS, we have DHCP, we have HTTP protocol. All protocol actually works on the different ports. Fine. FTP works on the different ports. DNS, for the DNS server we have different port number. For the DNS client we have different port number, 67, 68 port number for DNS. So every time an application invoke and it need to send the data from device A to device B, it also need to manage the port number for that. Fine. It also need to manage the port number, because otherwise if I don't need remember the port number, it will not be able to identify that to which particular app, because there are multiple applications running onto my system. There are different applications which uses different protocols, so it will not be easy then to transmit the data that which application is requiring that data to get transferred. So I need port number for that also. That is what it being used in the transport layer. Also the port number it need to remember, and also the that connection, which connection I need to make, the TCP connection or the UDP connection. Is it clear to you guys? Sure. Am I, my speed is fine? Does my speed fine? Does we are on all, we are all on the same page till now? Great, fine. Thank you. So great, thank you. So now comes the working of the network layer. Fine. Now network layer is the third layer, fine, of the OSI model. Now your routers actually works in this network, and the second thing which I mentioned, that routing protocols, that routing protocols, they are works in, they are works in this network layer. Fine. Because router works in this layer, that means your logical addressing is done in the network layer. So it need to provide IP addresses, it need to route that packet with the help of different routing protocols. The different the type of the routing which can be done, it is in the two way, that static routing or we can do dynamic routing. Fine. We have two types of routing protocols, which are static routing and the dynamic routing. Does anyone know the difference between static routing and dynamic routing? Anyone in the class? Bache, be more interactive, make it session interactive. Answer me. Does anyone know static routing or dynamic routing? No, it should be clear to you. No, no one has. Gurdeep has. Yeah, Gurdeep, you know it. Can you tell me, Gurdeep? Uh, Let me make you presenter, Gurdeep. So you have to speak. Or do you have rights to speak, Gurdeep? Yeah. Let me just wait. Can you please tell me what is static routing, Gurdeep?
Hello.
Yeah, Gurdeep.
Sir, I am audible.
Yeah, Gurdeep, you are audible to me.
सर मतलब स्टैटिक राउटिंग में क्या होता है, जैसे हमारे पास स्टैटिक राउट जैसे डायनेमिक राउटिंग होती है, उसमें हम जो हमारा राउटर है वो अपने आप हमारे जो टेबल्स है वो बना लेता है, आईपी एड्रेस
ठीक है।
और उसके होस्ट और
राइट।
उसके नेटवर्क में। लेकिन
हम्म।
जो स्टैटिक राउटिंग है उसमें जो नेटवर्क एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर होगा वो खुद टेबल क्रिएट
हम्म।
करेगा और उसके अकॉर्डिंग उसका नेटवर्क आईडी और होस्ट आईडी करेगा।
Yeah. Very right, Bache, very right. You can now mute yourself. Yeah. In case of static routing, the network administrator or the network manager has to make the route to define that this packet, if this packet need to be reached to this particular device which is on the different network, then as being a network administrator, it's my responsibility to make it available for the data packet, that to which path it should follow to reach to this particular network. That means I am the one, if I am the network administrator, I am the one who will decide the route, and that will be very toughest if I have the more inter-networking device in my network. It will be not possible, it will be not possible for me to go to each network inter-networking device and do manually routing, so that this router will able to know, to learn that if a packet comes for this particular network which is not directly connected to this particular router, it need to learn that to which particular path it need to send. Whereas in case of dynamic routing, we have different routing protocols which are available. We'll discuss that in the next sessions. Fine. We have routing information protocol, RIP, referred to as. Then we have OSPF routing protocol, it is being used, open shortest path first. Then we have another protocol which is EIGRP, Enhanced Integer Gateway Protocol. So there are different dynamic protocols which are been existing in our field of the computer network. So we'll able to learn about this, the advantages of the RIP, or what are the disadvantages we have in case of RIP. Fine. Now there comes another term which is being used very in terms of computer, is hop count. Fine. And the administrative distance. Administrative administrative distance. These two terms should be clear to me. Hop count is the data packet which need to be reached to at the device B from device A. How many number of times it need to be passed through the inter-networking device, it will give me the hop count. But wait, Muskan, let me clear with this. I'll take your doubt just after 2 minutes. Fine. Hop count is the one, listen to all. Hop count is the one that while transferring the data from device A to device B, in between that, how many times the data packet passed through the different inter-networking device is referred to as hop count. If my data packet passed through 2 routers, my hop count will be 2. If my data packet passed through 3 inter-networking device, my hop count will be 3. That's what we refer to as hop count. Whereas administrative distance in case of RIP, it is 120. In case of RIP, it is 120. In case of OSPF, it is 110. In case of EIGRP, the administrative distance is 9. Administrative distance is the distance for the packet to find the path to reach from device A to device B. There might can exist different paths in that. To find the path, actually there might can exist different paths while going from device A to device B. We can have different paths available, but to the distance, the minimum distance it required to reach from device A to device B is the administrative distance to reach that packet from device A to device B. In case of RIP, the distance is 120. In case of OSPF, the distance is 110, and in case of EIGRP, the distance is 90. That means my EIGRP is good protocol which takes less administrative distance to reach a packet from device A to device B. In case if I have more number of paths available in between my network, fine. That's what we refer to. We'll do that. The next comes the data link layer. Fine. I hope the network layer is clear to you. Then comes the data link layer. Fine. In data link layer, your switches works. Fine. Switch works in the layer 2. Let me write it. Switch works in layer 2. Fine. So it is a more intelligent. So it uses the MAC address. That means physical addressing need to be done. Physical addressing is being done at this particular layer. And also when the data packet comes from session layer to transport layer, the transport layer adds its own header. Fine. Then when it reaches to the network layer, it adds its own header to the packet. When the transport layer adds its header to the packet which comes from the session layer, the data packet at the transport layer will become in the form of segment. And when that segment reaches to the network layer, and network layer add its own IP address, because routers work it there, routers work in network layer, and routers uses IP address which has to be included in that data packet which comes there. So when it adds its IP header to the data packet coming from transport layer, the segment will changes from the data packet from the segment will changes to the packet actually. Fine. When not getting it, fine. Arpit, let me wait. Now we know that when there is a data packet, fine. There is a data packet which is going to be reached from session layer to transport layer. Transport layer does segmentation, provide the TCP connection or UDP connection and the port number. When the packet comes here, the transport layer need to add its header to in front of in that particular data packet. And when transport layer add a particular header to this data packet, it will become in the form of segment. That means I can say, in case when the data packet reaches the transport layer, the data packet is in the form of segment. While in case of network, when this segment reaches the network layer add its own IP address to that particular data packet, and that data will be in the form of packet. That means the data is in the form of segment in case of transport layer, the data is in the form of network in case of the data is in the form of packet in case of network layer. And when the data reaches to the data link layer, the data link layer add its own header to that particular packet, and at the data link layer that particular packet will become changes to frame. That's how we do. The data packet at the transport layer is in the form of segment, the data in the network layer is in the form of packet, the data at the data link layer is in the form of frame. That means actually at the data link layer the frames are being transferred from to the other end. The network in the network the packets are being transferred to the other end. That's how it works. Fine. So data link layer works according to switches based upon the switching and do physical addressing. And when this packet reaches to the physical layer, it actually transmits the data in the 0-1 bits. The where actually, because the data which need to be sent from this device to this device has to be in the 0-1 form. That's why physical layer is being used, where actually transmission of data happening, converting of data into bits happened. The data link layer also responsible for checking of the error redundancy, any kind of error which might come while transferring the packet data from this particular device to this particular device. So in might be in any scenario the data packet with the data which is being transferring, it might happen can result in the loss of packets, or my data is not reaches correctly to the other end. So we have the error redundancy control, error checking control method, CRC, which we will discuss in the next class. We have that in the data link layer also. Fine. So if as a network administrator, I know there is some problem with the cables, I know there is a problem, sir, with the hardware, I'll come to physical layer actually. If I know there is a problem with switch, I'll go to data link layer. If I know that some problem is with the routers, I'll go to network layer. That's how this working is being done of the OSI model. Is it clear to you guys? Are you able to get it working on the functionality of each layer? Are you all guys sure? Is it clear? So I'll just so I think we are end with this lecture. So I hope that your content is being visible to your section on the Blackboard. Please read it. If you have any doubt related to this particular topic, you may contact me at any particular time. Fine. I hope that I'll be able to teach you in a very good and very efficient way, so that you will be able to understand each and everything which exists in the computer network, starting from the basic. I hope this is clear to you guys. Fine. So please keep learning. Fine. Read all the content, do your task, and that's all we have. We have our responsibility. You have your responsibility as being a student. Fine. So please give your feedback. So I'll be able to see, and I'll take it. Fine. So thank you.